Hello, Redbirds. My name is Stanley.
And I'm Sophia.
And welcome to Brunch.
Call me one day, call me one day. Let's have brunch together, let's have brunch together.
And here, our wonderful guest of the day, I am honored to speak to. I am about to pass out, actually. She is a McGill alumni. She is a goddess of cuisine, a gourmet chef. It's Claire Saffitz.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Hi, Claire. Okay, so we'll jump right into it right now. Since this is a McGill podcast and you did go to McGill, we were wondering why you chose to come here.
Yeah, I did a master's program at McGill in the history department, and I chose it because there was specifically a professor in the department that I wanted to study with, Brian Cowan, who I believe is still there, and he and I actually correspond occasionally, which is great, and I had a wonderful time. He does a lot of work around the history of food and intellectual history of food. And that's what I was really interested in. And that was after I went to culinary school. So it's funny, actually, just this morning for a project that I'm working on, I was looking back at some of my old, this is totally unrelated to the podcast, but I was looking back at some of my old like reading materials from my master's program for like an actual thing that I'm working on for my job. So it's funny how there's this great through line with everything I've done. And I think all the time about my McGill studies.
Wait, so speaking about your experience with the professor, I read previously that there were particular texts and projects that you really, really loved when you were working with him. And I was wondering if like you could share a little bit more about that with us today.
Specifically the texts that
like things that you thoroughly enjoyed looking into when you're working with Professor Cohen.
Yeah, I mean, most of my texts for my master's thesis were like primary sources from the early modern period. And a lot of them were cookbooks, and I love reading old cookbooks. And I just remember thinking it was just like the coolest thing to be able to read them in an academic way, and be able to study them and have these really interesting, really kind of like sensual, like sensorial texts be my primary sources for academic work. And I still love reading old cookbooks. I mean, a lot of them are in the public domain because they were written so long ago. And I still will go back and look at them. So there's like Hannah Glass was the name of a woman who wrote, I think it was a 18th century cookbook in England. And there's, it's just a super interesting period of history. And there's a lot of texts that are sort of cooking texts and household management texts. And I love reading those for a lot of the work that I was doing.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're both undergrads. So like the texts we're looking into for projects aren't nearly as, honed in on a particular topic. And in my opinion, as someone who's just really into cooking and currently studies English, not particularly in that field, but I think it must have been phenomenal to have that as an academic experience.
Yeah, I think I realized when I was entering grad school that I could actually study something that I found really interesting. It was like, I never really felt a closeness, or I never really sort of identified or really kind of became sort of fueled by like the sources and texts that I did in undergrad, which was more focused on like American history and literature. So it was really cool to have the primary sources be these very sort of identifiable, very like modern seeming cookbooks that, I was like, these are recipes that there are extensions of them that exist today that we make all the time. So to me, that was just so interesting. It was just a way that I really connected with the period that I was studying. I had never really had that experience before.
Do you feel like your experience at culinary school really allowed your experiences as an academic to broaden themselves? I don't know if that makes sense. As in, like, had you gone into studying culinary history without having gone to culinary school first, how do you think that would have affected your academic process?
I don't know if it would have affected the academic process, but I think it changes sort of my attitude toward the material, and it made it sort of much more, it kind of grounded, I think, in like real life experience. And yeah, I guess sort of it fine-tuned my knowledge about it. I was considering food studies prior to going to culinary school. I just had this idea to pursue the study of food in an academic way, and I didn't really know how to do it. And I decided to go to culinary school in between undergrad and graduate school, mostly just as a fun pursuit. And I just wanted to do it for the sake of doing it and to have the knowledge and the experience. So I didn't so much pursue culinary school as a means to a career. I didn't really know how I was going to, I didn't really know how that was going to sort of become part of my story, my trajectory. I just really wanted to do it for the experience, for the knowledge. But definitely the combination of culinary school and my graduate work like coalesced into this interesting, to sort of, I think, create this interesting perspective for me in what I'm doing now, which is not academic at all. But it just gives me a great perspective, I think, on what I do.
Do you feel like your work is, like, how do you feel that what your creative output is influenced by the fact that you design for a popular audience?
Well, I mean, I'm constricted by very real parameters. Like my recipes that I create are meant to be cooked by people. They're not meant to be showpieces or decorative or, like set pieces. They're real recipes that I want people to make at home. And so they're confined by people's abilities, experience, physical kitchen spaces, equipment, the ingredients that they have access to. So it's very, very practical. And I think all the time about the products that I'm creating for people and the recipes. And, I'm very oriented toward teaching and sort of providing education and resources to the home cook and home baker.
Speaking of creating content for larger audiences, how do you feel as a public figure? Because I feel like it wasn't your initial choice to become a very popular cook in media, but especially living in New York, I feel like I always see TikToks of people seeing you in the train or like in the streets. Like, how has that affected your life?
Oh, I had no idea that happened.
Oops,
I'm not. No, that's okay. I mean, I guess I was probably found out at some point. I'm not on TikTok, so I had no idea. It hasn't changed my day to day, especially with the pandemic. I think it's made me actually more private, and I am I'm an introvert. Like, I'm a very private, quiet, shy person, actually. So the public dimension of it has always come with a level of discomfort a little bit. I mean, it's also great. Like, I'm so lucky to have this huge platform where I can reach a really wide audience. And that will always be a huge privilege. And I'm really grateful for it. And I would love that my work is seen by a lot of people. And that makes me take it more seriously. That makes me, I feel a real sense of responsibility to like provide something of quality, which is why like my testing process is very rigorous. So it's a wonderful gift, but it also is just something that kind of hits up against my personality tendencies a little bit, in that I don't like to really be that seen. So in my personal life, like it's very low key. Like, I don't think it's different than my life would look had I not found this professional success. So it's like, I live in my apartment with my husband and our cats, and I spend a lot of time inside, and I don't think that it changes much. Like, I'm not on TikTok, and I choose to sort of participate in social media in a very limited way for my own mental health, because I don't love it. Or it's just very mixed. It can be a wonderful tool, but it's such a slippery slope. And so I'm also still figuring it out, I think, and it's probably going to be an ongoing thing. So I'm just sort of figuring out how I want to exist in these spaces, I guess. But ultimately, being able to reach and communicate with an audience of passionate bakers and cooks is wonderful, and it's a really heartening and encouraging and sort of like affirming experience for the most part. So I try to focus on that and not anything that feels sort of overly negative or or unfair.
Speaking of being like a quiet introverted person, so for your experience at McGill, how was how was the nightlife for you? Did you explore the clubs? Did you explore the bars?
Definitely
Do
not.
you know about Tipsy Cow? Do you know about Rouge? No?
No, none. This is funny. When I talk about my graduate experience, I compare it to like the lifestyle of like a 19th century French school child. It was like I would walk, I would like make myself breakfast. I would walk to class and I would walk home, make myself lunch, walk back to class or the library, walk back home. It was like I wasn't really accustomed to the Montreal winter. So, and the darkness. So it's like I really didn't want to go out in the evenings. And I'm not like a going out kind of person. To the extent that I ever did, it was more just to be like, oh, I think I should be doing this. I'm 20 something, like that's what people do. And I never really liked it. So it's all mysterious to me. I made like a few friends and I liked my cohort and my peers in my program, but I really did not get out much at all. I did so much cooking in graduate school. I did so much cooking for myself. And I loved it. And I had a great apartment and I didn't leave it that much except for to go to school.
Wait, what neighborhood did you live in?
I was in the Plateau. I didn't like know that much about the city before I moved. I had a great, it was like a huge apartment. I had moved from, I had been previously living in New York and then I had living in Paris. And so when I came to Montreal and for, rent lower than a New York City apartment, I got like a huge 1-bedroom apartment with like hardwood floors and molding and
like unheard of in New York for that budget.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. And I had friends come and visit and, I did tons of walking around the city, but like very little nightlife at all.
So the food scene in Montreal, what would you say are highlights of it for you?
I mean, it was so clear to me from early on in my experience living in Montreal that it was a city obsessed with food, and I loved that.
Yeah.
It was so many markets and like specialty food stores. I would walk to the Jean Talon market and stop and get an espresso in Little Italy, and all the bakery culture was really exciting to me and something I loved. So it's such an amazing food town and with such a distinct flair and culture. I just loved it. It's just so many restaurants, so many cafes, so many ways to like buy and consume and eat food. It was just wonderful. I loved it. And I was so excited every time I had a visitor so I could show them, because like the people, my friends and family are people like me who love food and love to explore. So it was always fun to like show them, look at how much there is in this city to eat basically.
So do you have any like personal opinions from living here about Montreal highlights like Schwartz or Saint Viateur bagels?
Love Schwartz. Love a smoked meat sandwich. I mean, it actually like I struggle a little bit with sort of classic Montreal cuisine because I can't really tolerate like super heavy, high fat foods that well. I mean, I just like it in small amounts, but sort of like excess is kind of part of the spirit of Montreal cuisine. So I respect it, but I didn't like participate in it that much. And again, like I cooked for myself a lot. I just remember being like, these bagels are the same, like
as someone that
currently lives in New York, I feel like that says a lot.
Well, it's very different than a New York bagel.
Oh, you mean like they are the same as in like the bagel rivalry in
Yes.
Montreal?
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot more
very
sense.
controversial.
Right. No.
Not
That's what I mean. It's like, I was just, I had not studied in Montreal bagels. I was used to like a New York style bagel, but I was just like, these are very delicious and they're warm. And that seems like a huge part of the appeal. But it was like, aren't we splitting hairs here? But I know that that's not the point of a food rivalry. That's not, I apologize to anyone if that's offensive, but.
Oh yeah, are there any food rivalries that you do subscribe to? Like, is there one hill that you're willing to die on?
I mean, of the famous ones, I'm trying to think. I mean, so I'm from St. Louis, which is like a town with a lot of food quirks. I'm trying to think if there's any significant like food rivalries in St. Louis. Not that I can think of really. I don't know. What are the other big ones?
I don't know.
I can't even think of one.
I mean, because I'm Venezuelan and Costa Rican, and so like my first winter here is going to be very difficult, but we'll talk about that later. And so in Venezuela, like the staple dish, our national dish is the arepa, and arepas are very much like fought over between Venezuelans and Colombians as to, you know, who created them or who makes them better. So food rivalries are on my mind all the time at breakfast.
That's a national rivalry. That's a big one.
Yeah, huge, big stakes.
I mean, I think of like Pat's and Geno's in Philadelphia for cheesesteaks, but it's like, and I've had one from one of those places. I don't even remember which one, you know, and it's just sort of like, it's obviously very important to the people to whom it's important, and to everyone else, it's just sort of like a story, you know? So I support the idea of them. I think it's really fun. And I think it's sort of a sign of people's pride in their food cultures, which is great. But as sort of an outsider coming in, and I was just like, it's like they're, you know, it's all bagels and like they're
like warm, they're
warm. Yeah. So people would ask me like, which was your favorite? And I was like, I don't know. I go to one that has a shorter line, you know? So, and I also felt like every time someone asked me and I gave an answer, it was the wrong answer. And so people are like looking for a particular answer when
they're setting you up.
Yeah, it's a very loaded question. So I was just like, I don't know. I kind of refuse to participate in this.
What about pineapple on pizza?
I get it, but it's
Okay.
just, it's not for me. It's not my thing.
Okay.
Really, it's my favorite. Do you like it?
I love pineapple on
love
pizza.
pineapple on
I like
pizza.
can't admit that to my family, but I love pineapple on pizza.
I get it. It's just like something I'm never going to order.
Okay, fair. Wait, so speaking about just like college meals, I eat pineapple on pizza. Are there any like broke student meals that you would recommend for like the group of undergrads that will be listening
Do you have any
this?
recipes?
And I think everyone needs to sort of learn how to like make a decent pasta for themselves because it's so easy. I mean, I'm like constantly making myself a quick meal from, I mean, it's a pantry meal. And I think to have sort of a repertoire of these kinds of pantry meals is really important. So, you know, you can make a decent pantry pasta with a little garlic and some olive oil and, you know, little Parmesan cheese and some lemon. Like that's really all you need. And, you know, it's sort of the principles of like, learn how to cook your pasta al dente. So, you know, cook it to sort of the minimum package time, even a minute or two less. And finishing the cooking, you know, in a skillet. It's not like boil the pasta, drain it, put it in a bowl, top it with sauce, because then, you know, then you can't toss it. And like the pasta really needs to kind of cook in its sauce, even if it's something as simple as just olive oil and garlic. And it's quick, you know, you can have your dinner in less than 15 minutes. I think things like, I'm just trying to think of my really quick go-to meals. It's not like these things change when you become like a quote unquote adult. It's like these things that we think of as like student meals, it's like I still eat these things. A good one is like, you know, like breakfast tacos, which are called breakfast tacos, but I eat for dinner. You know, it's a scrambled egg or a fried egg and a corn tortilla with, you know, some hot sauce and maybe some cilantro and maybe a little swipe of mayonnaise or that kind of thing. Like an extremely good meal and so fast and easy. You can make it in 5 minutes. That kind of thing. So it's like, you know, for these types of meals, you want to have a saucepan and you want to have a skillet of some kind. Something, you know, doesn't have to be expensive or fancy at all. I mean, a lot of my meals revolve around eggs because, again, like I call it a pantry thing, even though it's in the refrigerator, but it's something.
And you've got your own now. You've got your chicken coop.
Oh yes, we have. Yes, I have actual chickens now that are great, and it's like so having fresh eggs is an incredible luxury and something I really am discovering the joys of all the time. Yeah, so it's like I always have eggs, but I have it. You know, I would have eggs no matter what. Other kinds of, I mean, the other thing is like I eat a lot of frozen dumplings, a lot of them. I have a kind of a hunger experience where like I'm not hungry until I'm starving, and then I have to eat something like right away, you know. So it's sort of like I'll be just sort of plugging along, I'll be working, writing, recipe testing, and then it will hit me and it's like I have to eat in the next 5 minutes or like I'm gonna faint or something. So I tend to really prioritize like super quick things that I can just, you know, eat to tide over my hunger. So like I do a lot of frozen dumplings and I cook them, you know, kind of pan fry them, get the bottom crispy, and I keep a lot of black vinegar on hand because I love the flavor of black vinegar. And little like sesame oil, and that's great. So these are like super quick meals that like it would be, it'd be good if you could intersperse them with something green and some vegetables and stuff. But in a pinch, they're great sort of 5, 10, 15-minute meals.
Very
Yeah,
practical.
yeah.
Very yummy too.
Delicious.
Do you get them from like a particular place, or is store bought like grocery store dumplings regular?
In New York, I live about 10 blocks from a supermarket called H Mart. It's like a chain in this area. They have them in Jersey too. A Korean grocery chain, and they have such a great selection. So I just like stock up at H Mart and throw a bunch of bags of frozen, all different kinds. And like sometimes I'll try something new, and sometimes I get like shumai that I boil, or I get like kimchi dumplings, or shrimp and pork and chive, and I just always keep a bag of something in my freezer, because again, it's like I won't realize that I'm hungry until I'm starving, and then I have to eat something right away. So it's very convenient to have them.
I can imagine. And also very yummy. That's not like an unfortunate choice at all.
No. I mean, I keep them because that's what I want to eat 90% of the time.
Of course.
So it's the greatest food ever. And the thing I crave constantly. I just like made myself, I was craving wonton soup. I love wonton soup. And I was like, I can make this. It's not that hard to make. You buy the wonton skins, I made the pork filling from the recipe on the wrapper of the cover of the wonton skin the wrappers. And my husband made some chicken stock, and like we made like delicious wonton soup. It was so easy. And it was just like, this is just what I want to eat all the time, truly. So I'm not sacrificing anything by cooking some frozen dumplings ever.
So we wanted to play a game with you, but we wanted to test you on your U.S. history.
Oh God, I hate this idea.
So it'll be you against Sophia. I will read out the questions, and whoever wins. Sophia is not very good in history either. Should we have a little jingle, guys? Let's make a little. Okay. Okay. What should it sound like? It should start with Claire. Claire's history knowledge. Okay. On 3. Now it's time for Claire's history knowledge. All right. So.
Wait, hold on. Before you start, can I just ask what inspired this particular quiz topic?
Because we saw that you had been studying that for your undergrad, and so we just thought, what a better way to have fun with Claire than to quiz her on U.S. history. God,
said like a real undergrad. You have to understand how far away that was for me. I'm 35.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is a safe space. It's a no judgment zone.
We'll accept you. Okay, starting in the 1700s. Okay, Claire, how do historians refer to the time period in the 1730s and 1740s when colonists began embracing secular rationalism over religion?
What is it? The New Enlightenment, Second Enlightenment? What is it? I don't know.
What's your final answer?
I don't know. American Enlightenment.
So close. It's actually called the Great Awakening.
Oh, Great Awakening. Okay.
Which is similar. You were so close.
Oh, I was wrong.
Let's this one is more relevant to you. What city was the first capital of the United States?
New York.
Yes, ma'am, you got it. All right, now let's test you, Sophia.
Oh God.
And Claire, if you know the answer, you could chime in. You could beat her to the answer.
So,
Sophia, when was the first U.S. dollar printed?
Oh my God.
Are you looking for like a specific year?
Yes.
I'd say 19th century, but I can't give a specific year.
Do you have an answer, Claire?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So the first U.S. dollar was printed in 1862. So you actually had the right answer, 19th century. So good job.
Thank you so much.
Good job. Okay, another question for you, Sophia. What country gifted the United States with the Statue of Liberty?
Oh, France.
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
Thank you.
All right.
These seem to be varying quite a bit in difficulty.
I completely agree.
That was your undergrad. You studied this. Okay, now we're quizzing both of you. It's you against each other. So maybe find a buzzword or a buzz sound for yourself.
Can I clap?
Okay, that's your buzz sound.
Okay.
A clap. And what's yours, Claire?
I'll snap.
Okay, she'll snap. All right. So, what was the last state to be admitted into the Union?
Hawaii?
Yes, that is correct. Sorry, Claire, you missed your shot on that question. But you did snap, so I'm guessing you knew the answer.
I mean, but if I told you Hawaii, it's like, even if it wasn't what I was gonna say, that's what I would say.
All right. Okay, next question. What was the first state to legalize marijuana for medicinal use? Go, Claire.
California?
Yes. Good job. And do you know what year?
I would get, I don't know, like 2010 maybe? I don't know.
So, not close, actually. It was in 1996, but you were...
Oh, damn.
It's in the same
It's been a
vicinity.
while.
It's been a while. They've been having fun. All right. And so... okay. This is really important for your guys' U.S. history. So this will be the final question. What was the date of the Boston Tea Party? Go, Claire.
I snapped just to ring in because it was the final question, but I don't really know the answer. 1774?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It's actually...
Oh, can I try?
Okay. you go.
I'm gonna say 1772. Yes.
Okay, well, if we're going by how close the person was, Claire gets it because it was in December of 1773.
So pretty much 1774. So you got it. Good job, Claire. You win this round of Claire Knows Knowledge. Is that the name of the game?
Claire's history knowledge.
Claire's history knowledge is what I meant.
All right. So now that we've wasted enough of your time, Claire, thank you so much for coming. We have learned so much from you. We adore you. You are a goddess to my eyes, the closest thing I have to religion. So do you have any final parting words before we let you go?
Well, I mean, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys have been really kind, and it's great to speak to both of you and as students and also as sort of followers of my work, and it's wonderful. And I'm proud to be a McGill alum. So thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Claire. Happy Hanukkah. We hope you have like a great holiday season. You spend your time with your family and friends, and stay safe.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
We did it!